I'm with Dr. Drieu.
Yeah.
And we are here at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And we are actually at a side event right now talking to a wide variety of people from different countries who are skeptics, who are concerned about what the IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, are up to and the information that they're giving to the world, right?
Yes.
And you've written, so thank you for being here,
My
Doctor.
pleasure.
And you have written a book. And what is the title of your book?
Yes, I wrote that book about the IPCC. The title in French is The IPCC is Dead, Long Live Science. In English, it was The IPCC, a scientific body. And it is an epistemological critique of this United Nations organization.
So your book is a critique
Yeah.
of the IPCC
Yeah.
and the United Nations
Mm-hmm.
about climate change.
Yes.
And
What is my point, you mean?
why'd you write this book?
My point in this book is to show that the IPCC is no scientific organization or body, as they say on their website, but a purely political organization. And
So it's not a scientific body.
no,
It
not at all.
is
A purely political body.
Purely-
If you look at the competencies, functioning and composition of the IPCC, you can show that it is not scientific at all, but purely political.
okay. So not scientific,
No.
but purely political.
Purely.
Now where
And that's a rational argument. I mean, it's not just an opinion. I show that. I made many conferences in English, in French, in Dutch. You know, I've been to the media for 10 years about the subject. I've never been refuted by someone. These people that are telling us that the IPCC is a scientific body, but they have no arguments. It is not a scientific body.
It's not scientific.
No.
Now what's your expertise? What's your background? What gives you the right, if
Yeah,
you will,
yeah, of course.
to write a book that calls out the IPCC as not a scientific body, but definitely political?
Definitely. My background is I have a PhD in philosophy from the Sorbonne here.
PhD from philosophy.
From philosophy
Okay.
here in the Sorbonne in Paris. And I am a lawyer by education from the Catholic University of Louvain in Belgium.
Okay, well that's very interesting background. One, it's legal, and the other, it's philosophy, like
Yeah.
how the brain works, how people work.
Yeah, epistemology is that, you know, you are criticizing, I mean, the organization as such. I have no competence about the science. I'm no physicist, I'm no chemist, for instance. But to criticize the organization, you need some competence as a philosopher or a lawyer, precisely.
Right, right. Well, something that I've noticed with the IPCC and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change is a lot of the side events are focused on behavior change.
Yeah.
Can you speak to us about behavior change?
Yes, the fact that the focus is on behavior is normal if you read the reports from the IPCC, because I read the 5 reports, you know. You have to be mad to do that because they are making about 3,000 pages each. And the focus on the third part of these reports is always on the behavior. They want to change the very fabric of our society because they are motivated, in fact, by the ecologist ideology, and they want us to change as civilization, basically.
Is that just Belgium and France that they want behavior change?
No, of course not. They want to change. The IPCC is for the whole world, you know. You have 200 countries. They are members of the IPCC. So when they are writing these reports, it's for the whole world, including, of course, the US.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're here, is because
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, because we flew to France, to Paris, to find out what, in fact, they are talking about here at COP21, Convention of Party, meeting number 21, you know, the agenda for the 21st century. So of the 15,000 pages, approximately, that you've read, in their 5 documents.
The first report was smaller, but okay.
So approximately 10 to 15,000 pages.
That's it.
That's a lot of
That's
reading.
a lot of reading, yes.
Yeah, and so would you say that because you've now read it, so now you can officially talk about it because you've read the document.
Yeah.
I have not read it. What would you say is the percentage of, if you can, of science versus behavior change in these documents?
But you have two, in these documents, as you say, in these reports from the IPCC, you have three parts. The first part is to summarize the science of climate. The second is to evaluate the negative impacts for human being of these scientific constatations, if you want. And the third part is recommendations to go in the good direction for these people. I mean. So the third part is about 1,000 pages in the last report, for instance, and they have recommendations about transport, about urbanism, about any sector of human activity, basically.
So in the transport, so there you mentioned urban, so urbanization.
Yeah.
So that's where we live, where we work,
Exactly.
where we play.
Exactly.
Is it suggesting, which we are suggesting in the United States, is something we call stack and pack housing, where we all live in a vertical world.
Yeah. There was a book from a great author named Silverberg about that. It was a dystopy at the time. It was a critic, of course, but these people, they want us to live actually in such circumstances.
Like in apartments.
For instance, they have you have 1,000 pages, so you have many possibilities. That's what they are writing, but that's one of the possibilities. Yes.
Okay. Well, so it's condensed living, high density living.
No car, no more car, only public transportation and the rest. You basically you open a book of ecologism. I mean the ideology, not only ecology in the scientific sense, and you find what you read in the IPCC reports. That's clear. You have a word which is interesting in French, which is décroissance. That's degrowth. These people, basically, at the IPCC, they want us to degrowth. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
We want growth, we want progress. That's the very definition of the Western civilization. They want us to degrowth.
Yes.
That's basically to regress, in a sense.
We call it limits
in the
to
name of
growth.
science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call it. Yeah, it's called. We refer to it. One of the books that the Club of Rome wrote.
Yeah, of course.
Is limits to
foundation.
growth.
Yeah.
And then after that, it turned into Our Common Future by Drieu right, which became Sustainable Development. And then after that, it became United Nations Agenda 21, the blueprint for the 21st century. And today, would you agree with me? Today, it is the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030.
Yeah.
And in one of the 17 goals, you talked about transportation. They don't want us to be in cars.
No, because it is private, it is individual. They are against everything like individualism, like private person. They want to collectivize basically everything.
Why? What is wrong with
That's ideology, It's like communism. Communism was against why, to answer your question, that's ideology. That's the force, the pure essence of ideology. They want to change not only reality, but they want to change us as human beings.
Right. So that to me is social engineering.
Totally.
Yeah.
Much more than that, because social engineering, that was the idea of Popper. It has a good connotation in a sense, but they want to go further than that. They want to alter the very essence of what it means to be a human being.
One of my heroes is a guy named Patrick Wood. He has studied the Trilateral Commission for over 30 years now. Trilateral Commission, are you familiar with the Trilateral Commission?
Yeah.
So very important group of people who are really in control and creating policy and lobbying and around what you're talking about right now, this whole social engineering for the 21st century, where we are really limited on growth and limited on what we can do. I can't remember the French term you used, which was what about growth?
Décroissance, degrowth.
Okay, so degrowth. So a hero of mine, Patrick Wood, wrote a book called Technocracy Rising.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the 1930s, where technocrats, scientists, engineers, these big-brained people started discussing, Zbigniew was a part of this. I can't pronounce his name correctly.
Nobody can.
Brzezinski. So started talking about how do we control, monitor people into nudging them into the way that they believe. Like Christiana Figueroa, the secretary of the UNFCCC, is going around and saying, you must not drive anymore.
Yeah.
So what are our alternatives as human beings at this point? What you see, what can we do? What is it right now that we can do?
What we can do, I think, it's to wage a culture war against the IPCC. Is to show that this body, in the name of science, is doing politics and purely doing politics. As long as you have the IPCC, we are going to fail because they are speaking ideology in the name of science. So we have to reach these people and to show, I mean, the whole world that it is an ideological project, and then it is going to fail, but not before.
How are we going to wake people up? How are we going to get them this information? I know we've tried very hard in the United States, and it seems like a slow awakening.
Yeah.
And
But not so slow awakening, because if you look at the US Congress, the majority of the Republican Party, for instance, is skeptic. We have no such thing in France. If you look at the parliament in France or Belgium or Germany, whatever in Europe, the vast majority of these people, they are not skeptic at all. They are speaking the word of the IPCC as if it was not only science, but God, you know, in a sense. So in the US, the situation looks not so good for you, but it's much better than in Europe, basically.
Well, I wish that I felt the same way about our Congress. They had the opportunity to defund Obamacare, and they did not. So, you know, even in the United States, where you have people, skeptics like us, at the IPCC and the UNFCCC and the United Nations, and you know, we are still concerned in the United States that we do not have the right Congress and the right Senate to stop all of this.
But if I may say a word, I'm not sure that the US Congress is going to fund this green fund that they want to set up now, and that's the end of the story.
Right.
Because now the whole thing amounts to this green fund, and if there is no funds to fund the green fund, there is the whole thing is going to disappear. But as long as we have this IPCC, the ideology is going to prosper, so we have to reach these people.
Great. Well, I so appreciate your time today. I know you're going to speak in a little bit about with a panel of other scientists who are skeptical of the UN and the IPCC, and I just want to acknowledge you for your work. And will you hold up your book, and tell us what your book is again in English?
In English, it's the IPCC, a scientific body. IPCC, a scientific
buddy. So go out. Where can we get this?
Buddy.
Oh, buddy.
So where can we get this book? Where can we get this book?
On Amazon.
Amazon.com.
Yes.
And it's Dr. Drieu
Godefridi.
Godefridi.
That's great, you know.
I so appreciate your work, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you. Thank you.
That's great. I got about 90%. I just have two quick follow-ups.
Great.
Just look at him.
The IPCC has come out with a number of these policies already that has been tried throughout Europe and now is known as energy poverty. Can you give us a little background in terms of what energy poverty looks like here in Europe?
You know, energy poverty in Europe is a real problem now. If you take the case of Germany, for instance, it's a very rich and prosperous country, but because of these energy politics, you have about 1 million people in Germany who are now unable just to pay the bill, their energy bill. So it's a real problem that we now have in Europe, and if we follow COP21 and the IPCC, you will replicate this problem all over the world, basically.
Can you also give us a sense of a financial motive that these people might involve?
Yes, you have financial motives, but also money in the thing, because the IPCC is now at the center of a galaxy with many interests, financial interests, agglomerated around this IPCC. You have hundreds, if not thousands, of companies all over the world which receive money from the state thanks to the IPCC, thanks to this ideology. So it is not only financial from oil companies against science, it's oil companies, if you want, against other companies. I mean, you have huge interest in this business now.